If you enjoy my content, please consider supporting me on Patreon for a monthly donation that helps me out and this channel greatly so I can keep creating more and more videos. Whether you've never read Dune, you read it years and years ago, or, you're a seasoned pro at Dune, you know every little fact ever. This video, I just want to give you an introduction to the Dune universe. Specifically, what you should expect out of the first Dune book, because yay, November 2020, we're getting the first Dune movie, which will be part 1, which covers half of Frank Herbert's Dune. So first off, Dune is a science fiction book written by Frank Herbert in 1965, though it started off as 2 shorter stories that were published in the magazine Analog. And there's a reason why Dune is considered the greatest science fiction ever. Beyond the first book, Herbert would write 5 sequels, some better than others, and prequels were written by his son, Brian Herbert, along with Kevin Anderson. There would also be a slew of adaptations, including a film, 2 miniseries, and computer games. So if you know nothing about Dune, what is it about? Well, Dune is set thousands of years in the future, 10,191 to be exact, and humans is spread out throughout the galaxy and are on many planets that are ruled by noble houses, or great houses, that answer to the imperial house Carino. These planetary fiefdoms, as you would imagine, have strife with each other. There are also minor houses, but they do not rule a planet. Instead, they are usually loyal to a great house and run a region or one industry on the planet. In this future, humanity avoids using advanced computers or thinking computers due to religious prohibition. Instead, they adapt their minds so they are able to do complex tasks. This is where the spice comes in. If you know nothing about Dune, you've probably heard about the spice in relation to it, as someone recently said to me when I asked them if they wanted to watch one of the Dune movies. Oh, you mean that film with that spice shit? Yes. The spice shit. The spice melange is a currency and what gives humanity special abilities in this world, including extending life, improving health, and helping those that use it see things before they happen. This spice is used by the Spacing Guild's navigators to safely go faster than light and travel between planets, and for the Reverend Mothers of the Bene Gesserit to access their other memory, the ego and experiences of their female ancestors. Unfortunately, the spice is only found on the planet Arrakis, which is a desert planet with giant sandworms. The main themes of Dune involve power, religion, and ecology, and actually Frank opened up for future science fiction writers to deal with ecology in their books, which I absolutely love. Thank you, Frank. Frank also wanted us to be more aware of ourselves, and his overall message isn't you can't have technology. I mean, you can have your phone, your iPad, your laptops, but to be present and think and be conscious. Don't be a mindless consumer. So in the first Dune book, our main protagonist is Paul Atreides of House Atreides, who is the son of a concubine and a duke. The major conflict is against their mortal enemies, the Harkonnens, which is led by Baron Harkonnen, and the whole thing was actually set up by the Padishah Emperor of the known universe, who has it out for House Atreides because he fears their growing power and popularity. So he's trying to get rid of House Atreides so that nothing messes up his rule of the known universe as the Emperor. So now I want to go over the main characters of Dune just to give you a little taste of them. While there are other great houses and minor ones as well, I'm just going to cover the 3 that are important for the first novel: House Atreides, House Harkonnen, and House Carino. Let's start with House Atreides. First, we have Paul Atreides, who is the protagonist of Dune and is destined to change everything. He is the son of Duke Leto Atreides and Jessica, a concubine of the Duke. Paul is the heir to House Atreides, being trained his whole life to be a Duke one day, and is 15 years old in the first book. Paul is strong, quick, about average height and build, and he's also described as quiet, observant, and thoughtful. You'll find that he notices a lot. Because of how his mother trained him and groomed him for her own reasons, which you will see very quickly when I start covering the book, she kind of regrets that he didn't have much of a childhood or the pleasures of being a duke's son. She basically feels like she robbed him of his innocence through her training. Now, why Paul is better than your typical destined for greatness protagonist is because he fights his destiny every step of the way. And not in a whiny, "oh, why did fate choose me" sort of way, in a power has consequences sort of way. In fact, the author was big on the consequences of power, and he wasn't a huge fan of superheroes feeling like they actually did more damage than good. It's actually a really refreshing take. Let's move on to Paul's father, Duke Leto Atreides, who, loving and wise, is also ruthless and loved by many of the Landsraad, the assembly of great houses. He is the head of House of Atreides and the new ruler of Arrakis. He was given the planet by the Emperor in exchange for his planet, Caladan, which had been the home of Atreides for 26 generations. Though being given Arrakis is a huge opportunity for House Atreides, the Duke knows that it's a trap. Paul's mother Jessica is the only concubine of the Duke. Despite having no other concubines and loving Jessica, they are not married. While Jessica acts as if she is his wife, the Duke stays unmarried so he'll have something to offer another great house, should he need to. Jessica never knew her parents, being an orphan, and is a member of the Bene Gesserit, an ancient school that teaches women how to develop superhuman abilities, mental and physical. She wasn't supposed to have Paul, being told by the Bene Gesserit to only give the Duke's daughters, but she gave him a son because she loved him. Which really starts some stuff, but I'll get into that later. Now let's talk about those that serve House Atreides at the beginning of this book. First is Thufir Hawat, a mentat or person who is trained to act logically. Mentats are amazing as through crazy training they are able to enter a heightened mental state to perform tasks computers used to. He is Duke Leto's main confidant, trained Paul in combat and strategy, and he has served 3 generations of Atreides, so understandably he's a bit old. He also has the sick title of Master of Assassins to House Atreides. Duncan Idaho is a sword master of House Atreides. Wellington Yueh is a Suk doctor of House Atreides, and the Suk school produces doctors that can't cause harm due to heavy psychological conditioning. Finally, and I'm not going to say most favorite because I don't play favorites, Gurney Halleck, Duke's War Master. He is a loyal warrior of House Atreides and taught Paul the art of personal combat. He's skilled at sword fighting with personal electronic body shields. Let's move on to House Harkonnen, known for being cruel and brutal. First, we have the Baron Harkonnen, a very fat man who must have his weight supported by electric suspenders and is the mortal enemy of House Atreides. So understandably, he jumped on the Emperor's plan to trick House Atreides into taking over Arrakis so that they can then take care of them. As vile as the Baron is, there's something to say about the twisted, sadistic mentat, Piter de Vries, who has the emotional traits that aren't necessarily great in a mentat. He is very ambitious and a schemer. Kinda hard to be an advisor when you're wanting shit for yourself and you're a sadist. Rabban Harkonnen is the older nephew of the Baron who was in charge of Arrakis until Duke Leto Atreides took over. He was also known as the Beast and other not great names because he was a tyrant over Arrakis. The Baron allowed his cruel nephew to rule Arrakis, hoping that his other nephew, Fade, and who is actually his heir to the Baron, would take over and he'd be welcome after the Beast's cruelty. Lastly, on Great Houses, House Carino. At the beginning of this book, they have control of the known universe for thousands of years. While you can call it the Galactic Padishah Empire, it is commonly called the Imperium. Shaddam IV is the Padishah Emperor of the known universe / ruler of the Imperium at the beginning of Dune. While he is incredibly powerful, the Spacing Guild is often able to fuck with him and manipulate him due to their monopoly on space travel. His heir and eldest daughter, Princess Irulan, is a historian who I don't want to say more about yet. And then we have Count Hashmir Fenring, a genetic eunuch and the Emperor's closest advisor and friend. He's also good at killing people, so that's something he has going for him. So those are the major houses that we're going to deal with in the first Dune book. Now I want to go over some other terms and organizations that are going to be in this book, but I'm not going to go too crazy on them yet because they're going to get their own individual videos. So I want to first start with the Bene Gesserit. The Bene Gesserit are a female society that have physical and mental powers that they created or developed through thousands of generations of their program and through specific mental and physical conditioning. And these guys are a little crazy and undergo the Agony, which is a lovely name, which is ingesting a liquid poison gathered through messed up means, and they must render it harmless in their body or they die, which means they failed the trial. But if they don't fail, they become a full Reverend Mother, and are able to recall all their female ancestor memories. Not their male ancestor memories, though, and the psychic space that their male memories lie in freak them out because they can't access it. This order has a secret agenda of creating a male version of the Reverend Mother, who they call the Kwisatz Haderach, who will be able to access their male ancestor memories. Again, more on them in a later video. I'm going to briefly touch on the Fremen, Smugglers, and Spacing Guild, though you don't need to know too much about them yet. The Fremens, who are natives of Arrakis, I will talk about them more in a later video. Just know they are natives of the planet Dune, and they have a big role to play. Next are smugglers, who is anybody that transported or sold controlled material. They become important in later chapters in the book as well. Lastly, the Spacing Guild is very important to the series. They have a monopoly on space travel, and their navigators use the spice to safely travel by using fold space technology, tech that allows instant travel anywhere in the galaxy. Now, is there more to this series? Of course, but this video is just an intro to Dune, and I'm going to be doing a lot more videos breaking down the Dune universe. So like, subscribe, and come back for more.